Hey, it's Jason here with the 97 Toyota 4Runner Limited, and I want to show how to put the seat back in. We talked about removing it. Putting it back in, you'd say, well, you just tighten the bolts down. But, got to tighten them down at 27 pounds of torque. And the reason is, if you over-tighten, could you imagine if something broke in there? If you tightened it and the head popped off the bolt, if you stripped something and it just started spinning in that hole, because what you're looking at below it is the ground. That's actually directly into the floor of the vehicle. For obviously safety purposes, it's threaded into the floor. So you want to be very mindful. I used to just take a wrench and just tighten it till it was tight enough, and then just a little bit more. But I once had an experience where that extra little tightening, it just started spinning. And then I had 3 bolts secure and 1 bolt not. And I don't know about you, but I want to drive around being properly bolted down in the event somebody hits me, or in the event I hit somebody. So the first thing, when the seat was out, I took the opportunity to really clean the carpet. It looks much better. I vacuumed it. I used a carpet cleaner on it. I lubricated each of the holes. And then I'm going to line it back up, and I'll show you how I'm using my torque wrench. It's a 14mm socket to tighten these up to 27 pounds of torque. Okay, so I'm ready to put the seat back in. I'm going to do 3 things here. As I mentioned, I lubricated each of the holes. I talked about how I'm going to use a torque wrench. I'm going to use just a little bit of dielectric grease in the connector under the seat. Very little. I usually use it with electronics. It just helps maintain the integrity on some of the older connection points and whatnot. Probably not needed, but a little tiny dab won't cause any harm. If anything, it will help. And then my torque wrench. This is just a Pittsburgh torque wrench with a 14mm socket. And to adjust it, you basically loosen up this round, I think they call it a knuckle at the bottom. Turn it left. And then you twist this up to where you need to go. Try to get a little more light. It's getting dark on me. And I'm going to 25 pounds. A little over 25 and a half. And it calls for 27. I'm just going to do just a little bit lighter, about a pound less, just to be super safe. And I've always done that and never had an issue. So, you put the seat in, tilt it back. You're going to want to connect this electronic cable to the piece on the bottom, and then screw everything back together. So let me get the electronics hooked up, and then I'll go to the next step. So I just put a little bit of dielectric grease on the end, and then it will plug in to the bottom of the seat connector. So I have it hooked up, and I have all the bolts aligned. So then you're going to want to take each one, and you're going to want to put in and go to 27 pounds of torque. And that effectively is the process to put them back in. Remove seat, vacuum clean carpet, lubricate the holes, hook the seat back up. I put a little bit of dielectric grease on the seat connector for the electronics. And then I'm going to torque these to 27 pounds of torque. So I decided to complete the job once the sun came back out, so now it's light. But one tip I would say is have a wrench that isn't necessarily a torque wrench, just to tighten everything. Because you're not going to need to worry about torquing it till you get much closer to needing to torque it to that 27 pounds of torque. I always do them very lightly to begin, and then I'll do the back and torque them, and it will be good. I never try to completely torque one at a time. I try to set all 4 with a normal wrench and a 14mm socket, and then I tighten them to the 27 pounds with the torque wrench. So to do the back seat, to do the back, just put the seat in the far upright position, and you'll get clear access to the back. Okay, so as you can see, it's pretty easy to put the seat back in. Just be careful torquing it down. lubricate it up, make sure it's aligned. I put all 4 in place before I fully tighten, just in case I got to move anything just a little bit so the bolt doesn't rub up against the bracket that it's holding down. And that's the process. Again, hope this was helpful. I know it sounds easy, but sometimes these little tiny tips can make an easy job stay easy and not turn into a big pain. Thanks for tuning in. Check out my blog, jams.net, www.jamz.net.